All right. Party people in the place to be, vandals, and whatever else might be lurking out there in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. Joining us tonight, we have a legend in the making. We have a very, very cool artist who worked on the Turbo Kid comics. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Dion?
Hey, well, first of all, thanks for having me. My name is Jeik Dion, like Celine. So it's Dion in French, but Dion in English, I guess. Dion? Do you say Celine Dion? Dion,
Yeah, we
right?
say Dion, yeah. We pronounce things horribly down here.
That's perfect. And I've been drawing comics for. I was thinking about that earlier. It's my 17th year of drawing comics. So I started around 2005. So it's been a while,
Yeah.
and that's it. I draw comics.
I saw that Error was from 2009, I believe. I saw that in when I was reading it. So yeah, you kind of been a and
Yeah.
man, you've had killer style since the get-go. That's a beautiful little book right there.
Ah, thanks, man. Error was actually a short story published in the Pop Gun.
Pop gun, yeah.
Those huge
Yeah.
anthologies that were called mixtapes. It's actually I think it was Joe Keatage that was publishing that at the time. So he went on and did his own books. He worked on, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but when they rebooted the Rob Liefeld books with Prophet by Brandon Graham and Glory, I think that was Joe Keatage.
Yes, exactly. He also did Shutter, which is one of my favorite Image titles.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Shout out to El and Sergio. They're from
Yeah,
the House of Nerd show. They're stopped in to say hi. Yeah, how's it going, guys?
it's great to be back. Yeah, I had health issues, so we had the show kind of postponed for about 2 weeks, which I really, really dislike having. So I'm really happy to be back with the consistency. Expect that old consistency again, because Pink Buzz is nothing to mess with. But
That's
back to
right.
Mr. Dion and his wonderful, wonderful artwork.
It was
Which
awesome seeing my drawings in that little montage you did, and I don't know who did that, but it was amazing seeing it with the grindhouse filter and everything. It's like,
uh,
oh, my work looks cool.
yeah, I went and invaded your Patreon there and pulled a few pictures from it and
Yeah,
Instagram and went and got a few. Yeah, and one thing I noticed about your work is you like drawing yourself being beheaded.
yeah, that's true.
I noticed that in a few of them. I was like, man, Jakes, I think you might need some help, man. You keep drawing yourself with your head getting cut off.
Well, actually, it's not. It's not a self hatred or anything. It's more. It's laziness actually, because there's a penciler that told me that trick like when I was a kid. He was like, when you draw someone, like just don't never draw like some random, like even if it's just someone like walking on the sidewalk, like draw someone because it'll give life to that character.
Hmm.
So every time like I'm drawing a character that's holding a head, I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to draw like one of my friends like being beheaded, and like what kind of message am I giving to that person? So I just draw myself because I'm lazy. But then there's people like you that think that I just want to kill myself. So
No, no, I
I'm
was
doing
just
good.
kidding.
I'm doing fine.
Well, I know in the Turbo Kid one too, the added stories, there's a guy hanging when he finds the little bunker, and I always
Right.
know because you always draw your hair the
Yeah.
same style with the glasses. And I'm like, he just drew himself. He just hung
Yeah.
himself in that one. And then I've been reading Alice too, and there's at the
Yep.
strip club you're sitting at a table, and I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. Is it Patrick Senecal that he gets kicked out? Was that
No,
him?
it's
Did you draw
it's not
him?
it's not Patrick, but
Okay.
that's even better because we did some like a sort of Kickstarter for Alice,
Okay.
and people could pay to be in the book
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and to be cameos, and I
Ooh.
just like almost all of them I drew in like the orgy scene. And there was a guy that specifically asked if I
To
could
be in the
draw him with
orgy
his
scene.
dog.
Oh no.
He has a little dog, so I was like, yeah, man. But like if you're a Patrick Senecal fan and you want to be in the comic, you know what you're getting into.
Getting
So like,
into, yeah. Because his stuff's pretty dark
oh yeah,
and cynical. Yeah.
yeah, it's
That's
dark,
why.
and then at least it's not only dark, but it's heavily, it's really sexual too. So it's
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
I would not recommend that you let the young teenagers read that.
European style
Well,
eroticism, or
Like, I
like,
mean, and any kid 13 and younger, I would strongly suggest you keep it away from
okay.
them. Once they're maybe 15, 16, yeah, but underneath that, I don't know. It kind of it draws on that line, like
it's
some
funny because
kids aren't as mature at 13 as others.
while I was signing the book, there's this mother that came to me and she said, like, my my son, read every Patrick Senecal book. So should he read
Yeah.
this comic? And I was like, wow, he read everything. Like, how old is he? And she's like, he's 13. He's like, oh, that's young, and he read all of it. She's like, yeah, he loves it, and he talks to us about it, and I was like, well, look at the book. You can flip through it. It's really violent. It's really gore, and there's also like a lot of sexuality in it. So that may
Heavy
like,
sexual content, yeah.
yeah, so that may be a problem. And she just looked at me and she said, a problem for the mother, not for the kid. I was like, right, that's
Yeah.
right. Like, it won't bother him.
No, he'll be like, oh yeah, this is cool. Yeah.
So she bought him. She bought it to him.
Oh, that's awesome. Wait, if
Yeah,
he's a
yeah, that
fan,
was awesome.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. Hey, some parents are a little more progressive than others. They're not. They try not. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
good to shelter your kids too much. Because then they get out into the real world and they just can't. They can't handle stuff. They just.
Yeah, I don't have kids, so I couldn't tell you like how to educate them, but um my dad and me, we watched horror movies like since I was born, and we all watched them together. And I think that's the key, is not only like make him watch whatever, but watch it with him and like
So you can
discuss.
explain. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Have a
exactly.
discussion. Yeah.
And like, so my earliest memories of like being a kid and watching horror movies with my dad is him explaining to me when I was afraid and like hiding my
Yeah.
eyes and everything. He was like, it's like magic. It's like a magic trick. Like, these people aren't suffering for real. It's not a real hand getting like cut off. And
Yeah.
it seems so simple, but when you're a kid and you get it, like my dad explained that to me, I was like, oh, so this is brilliant. Like, wow. And that changed everything. So since those early days, I was like fascinated with the dismemberment.
Yeah, I was like the same way with my old man. We watched a lot of John Carpenter when I was young together,
Right.
like stuff like The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China.
Do any of you guys have kids?
No.
No.
I have
My
my
buddy
nephew
Goose
actually.
does. He's actually
Yeah.
younger than either of us too, which is funny.
But my nephew comes over a lot. I take care of my nephew a lot. Like, he was over tonight. They came over for supper, and
Nice.
we had started Babadook last time he came over. So he's like, "Oh, I didn't get to finish it. Can we finish it tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I got shit to do tonight." But we were kind of halfway through, so I was looking at the time. I was like, "Yeah, we have time." So we finished watching Babadook. And
Wow,
yeah,
that's a great movie. How old is he?
he's 12 now, 11, 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's been watching horror since he was like 8, 9 years old. The kid loves it. He eats it up. Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
I would have thought that Babadook would be pretty boring though for a 12-year-old, but if he was into it, I mean,
No, he loves all that stuff. He eats it
wow.
all up. Anything that's horror, man, you put it on. I think he was watching Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like, as soon as he started watching TV, those were one of the first shows he watched, and he just, boom, he became addicted to it, man. He was
The gateway.
La Piqûre. Yeah, he got it,
Yeah.
man. And since then, he's been into horror nonstop.
That's awesome.
Shout out to Manu. He's in the house tonight. Another fellow Quebecer who makes comics. Manu Fieldeau. He does Tales from the Interface. He said he'd stop by to come check out the interview with you, Jake. So,
Yeah, nice.
hello,
You,
Manu. Thanks for stopping in.
you
Salut,
got any
salut.
you got anything that you would like to add to what Manu actually asked? Funny how violence is so much more acceptable than sex is. That's your our religious fundamentalism at work right there. Not yours
Yeah,
personally, Manu, but the
yeah,
world's.
yeah,
And
Well, I wasn't just referring to violence when I was talking about Elias, because there's a lot of references to drug use as well. Uh, it's a lot of crime, like the underbelly, like the sex scene. Kind of, I don't know if not so much human trafficking, but I mean it's seedy, right? It's a seedy book. It's violence, sex, drugs, you name it. It's got a little bit of everything, and not just normal violence either. It's pretty twisted, some of the
yeah.
stuff, and yeah. So that's why it's kind of an amalgamation of everything in that one. So
Exactly. But to go on that topic, that question, one of my friends told me that recently on Disney Plus, they took that movie, that mermaid movie Splash with Tom
yeah.
yes,
Hanks and Daryl
mhm.
Hannah. Well, there's two shots that were modified in the Disney Plus version. There's one where she's taking a bath and you can see her knees coming out of the water. And they thought that was like too vulgar because her knees are apart. They're not like together.
Well,
So that's something. And the other shot is, and let's not forget, like this is a family movie. It's not like a sexual movie or like
no,
it
no,
was
not at
like
all.
all
Yeah, yeah.
ages. And the last shot is when she goes back to the ocean, because the concept is when she's in the ocean, she has a fishtail, and when she comes out, she's naked. So you can see a shot of her, of Daryl Hannah, like running towards the ocean, and you can see her butt cheeks. So in the Disney Plus version, they added some CGI hair to cover up her butt, and and I think that is way more violent than any nudity or any gore that you could imagine, because what's the message behind that? Like, what are you
No, that
actually telling kids? That the
yeah,
woman's body is, first of all, like sexualized, like seeing a butt is wrong, and that it's shameful.
yeah,
So that's fucked up. That's
yeah.
fucked up, Disney.
Yeah, but it's not everyone comes from an artistic background, right? Like I went to art school, so you see naked people every day in art class, right? You draw naked people every day. So you realize that the naked body isn't a sexual thing necessarily. It's just anatomy. It's beautiful, yes, but it's not necessarily sexual. And I think people kind of have a hard time separating the two.
Yep,
Like the naked body and sex. It's not necessarily, the two don't necessarily go hand in hand. At
exactly.
times, yes, but not all the time. Sometimes it's just, it's anatomy. We're like when we come into this world, we come in naked. We're not wearing clothes when we're born, like,
Yeah.
and I think we have that stigma of just, you know, I don't know.
And it's not always beautiful. I remember seeing
No,
my uncle waking up naked with his newspaper when I was 6 years old. That wasn't artful at all. I didn't see the art in that,
one
and it
time,
wasn't sexual either. I can
uh,
tell you that I wasn't turned on in any way.
it makes me think of one time in art class we had a model and she was in her period. Oh, and she took this
Oh,
one pose, and you could just see
oh.
the string hanging down, and one of my buddies drew her with the guy climbing the rope from between her legs. It was too funny. Oh my god. Oh, did we ever laugh? I think it was the best drawing he ever did all year in class was that one. Oh, it was so good. It was so funny.
Yeah, one of the last how'd you call that in life drawing classes?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I was actually with name drop here. Nico Henrichon, which who is a fantastic artist. He was the guy that did the Pride of Baghdad with Brian K. Vaughan,
Okay.
and we were together. And the model was this really old man, really skinny, but at the same time like
Fun.
flabby on
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
loose skin everywhere. Yeah.
And they just announced like this is the last pose of the class, so it's gonna be 45 minutes. So like get ready and like position yourself like comfortably. Here we go. And the old man just turned around and got on all fours,
Forced.
and we were just like the only thing we saw was his ass spread the most spread possible. And we're like, no, we're not drawing that for 45 minutes. I mean, come on. No. We just looked at each other like, no. Got up.
Changed thoughts.
Just
Yeah.
like how much detail can you put on
Yeah,
the
that's it.
shading?
It's like all of a sudden the studio gets crowded to one side. Everyone's like
Yeah.
all crowded into one side of the studio.
Exactly.
There's no more room to put any easels or anything. Hey Zod, how's it going?
What's up, brother?
Sad.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a question because I know you do storyboards, right?
Yep.
And I read an article a while back. They interviewed some artists, and they were talking about how it's more profitable to do storyboards than it is to actually work on comics. And I was wondering, because I know you do quite a few storyboards, and you work in both industries. So I wanted to know your take on that, your opinion.
Yeah, the sad truth is everything is more everything pays more than comics.
Yeah.
Comics is so much work, and you can't be lazy about it. Storyboards, I mean, it's about like communicating scene for a client. So it's not it doesn't have to be like super detailed.
Detailed, yeah.
It can be loose. So you can like I always got really well paid when I was doing storyboards compared to comics. So yeah, that's the sad truth. And I think that since the beginning of of the industry, uh, people know that. People in the industry know that. They know that commercial art will always be more profitable than comics. But the thing is with cartoonists like us, we just can't help it. We have to make comics. We have to
Yeah.
tell our little stories with our characters and our environments and our designs and everything. So for me, that's part of the pay because like I know a lot of artists that are in video games and they're doing great and they enjoy their job. Like me personally, I tried it. I did it for a couple of years and I was just unhappy there.
Yeah.
So I prefer to get paid in creative control than
Yeah.
in money.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
Because you actually did the storyboards for Turbo Kid,
Hmm.
which in turn kind of like when we talked, well, we actually met at the Comic-Con in December.
Yes.
And
Yes,
we
that was
had
great.
we talked about the Turbo Kid and how the storyboards inspired the look for the actual comics when
Yep,
when they came out, because they came out just after the movie, right? The following year, the comics followed the
exactly.
movie. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And
And originally they were produced by Lanu, was that it, or
Lunak.
Lunak?
Yep.
Lunak was the original publisher. Then now Happy Tank just recently republished the first two issues,
Yep.
which you actually got to add a little story to each one for the Happy Tank release.
That's
Yeah,
right.
which was great. I had mentioned it to you, but that the rat story.
Yeah.
Oh, you nailed that. You guys nailed that one. Like, I mean, I read that and I was like, oh man, like just the
That's awesome.
tear. Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
really well done. It was really well done. I love that one. That one was great.
And that
And
little rat that dies at the beginning of the movie.
right at the beginning of the
He
movie, yeah.
in the comic he actually gets to fight the mutant turtles.
Hmm. Yeah, in
You
the
know,
sewers.
in
Yeah,
the sewers for
yeah,
pizza.
for pizza. Yeah, yeah. It was a great little. I think that one was what 4 or 5 pages.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Yeah.
super short, but
Hmm.
it's because the French version that was published in Quebec by Lunac were there was only two issues, but they were double sized.
Yeah.
So when Behemoth Happy Tank came to us, they said like we want to translate this in English and make it like distribute it in the US, but these are double sized issues, so we would cut both of them in half.
In half. Yeah.
So two issues would become four issues. And but there was like a couple pages missing to be like just the perfect amount of
Number
pages
four. Yeah. Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
single issue.
Hmm.
So we wrote and did two little short stories for the first two issues, and yeah, those comics are written by the directors of the film.
Of the
So
film. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
it's not
K.
just
What's their acronym? KRSS.
RKSS. Yeah,
RKSS.
Roadkill Superstar.
Well, that's what it stands for. Roadkill Superstar.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. How did you like grow up with them, or how did you get in touch with them to do the storyboards and the comic? And you're pretty involved with Turbo Kid.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, I I didn't grow up with them. I heard
no.
of them in the festivals. They were doing a movie called Bagman, and I fell in love with that movie. That's the first time where I clearly you can tell that those guys were storytellers because Bagman was a really cheap movie. Like I think they made it with 200 bucks,
Oh
but
shit.
the
Okay.
storytelling in it was inspired by like Hong Kong cinema. So it was
Okay.
like a slasher. Bagman's basically like every slasher that you can think of uh, combined into one. So he's Jason, he's Freddy, he's Candyman, whatever. And if you say his name 3 times, he pops up and he just kills everyone. And he kills like about 40 people in the short film. But the thing is, like the camera work and the editing, and like they would do things like, and you can kind of see that in Turbo Kid,
Hmm.
that influence. But like it's so well choreographed, like he'll slice a head and you'll see the head flying, but then he'll punch two other dudes and the head will like land like later and then another shot and it's really like
Yeah.
intricate and complicated and it makes sense, but it's also like super dynamic and everything. So when I saw that movie, I was self-publishing comics and I said, can I make a pinup of Bagman?
Okay.
So that's kind of how we
You
we
got
met.
introduced, Matt. Okay. Yeah.
And after that, Johan, which is one of the three directors, was also doing a podcast called with Les Mystérieux Étonnants,
Hmm.
which is a geek podcast. And they invited me to participate, and I've been doing it for more than 10 years now with those guys. So we became like super close friends. And
Hmm.
so when they were working on Turbo Kid, they asked me to do the storyboards, and it was so great. It was like the best collaboration ever. um, like how we worked is we would wake up in the morning, have a huge like meeting on Skype, and they would actually play out scenes with toys and send me pictures uh because like the choreography of the movie was so complicated. Like there's a couple of scenes where there's a lot of things happening at the same time, so
Okay.
we had to storyboard it like really knowing who is where and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and after that I draw all night, and the next morning we'd wake up, we'd see the scene I drew, and we'd talk about the next one, and we did that for like maybe a month or two, month and a half, maybe. So yeah, it was a lot of work, but worth it. It was really fun.
Yeah, it paid off because that movie's fantastic. Love that movie.
Oh yeah, man, I love it
Where
too.
did you ever go on set? Were you ever there on set with them,
Yes,
or yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I was fortunate enough. They kept inviting me, but I felt so bad because you don't want to be the guy that's, you know, you don't want to be the guy that's not in his place, and that's like. But the last day of shooting, they actually forced me to come
for the
to set.
rap,
They were
for the
like, "Dude,
rap, yeah,
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 you've got to see this."
yeah.
So I went there and I saw like three scenes, and it's funny because like I wasn't in charge of any design on the film. Like I just did
Okay.
the storyboards.
Mhm.
So and when I did the storyboards, it was before casting. So I
Okay.
didn't know like Apple what
Yeah,
she would look like.
yeah. So
I
I
didn't
saw a few
know.
of the storyboards, and yeah, yeah.
So sometimes I'd hint like a design or a costume, or like there's a bounty hunter in the film that has this kind of like samurai hat with a
Hmm.
cyborg mask, and when I saw that on set, I was like, "Holy shit, like they were actually inspired by my design." That was great. But like for the rest, like Apple doesn't look anything
No.
like in the storyboards. Like she's just like a random girl in the storyboards. But
Mhm.
yeah, so went on set. I didn't get to meet Michael Ironside, but yeah, I
Uh,
met Laurence Leboeuf and everybody, and I just got out of the way. But like I was with the directors, like
yeah,
behind the monitor and like looking at the shots, and it was awesome.
yeah. It must be quite a fun experience
Oh
to
yeah, yeah, I'll
see how
remember it all my
everything's
life.
done. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, that leads me to my next inquiry: is uh, Outer Minds did a Kickstarter for the Turbo Kid game,
yeah,
and one of the stretch goals was a new comic.
that's
And
right.
you're making that comic. I'm assuming they got you on
Yes,
board for that, and I backed the tier with the new comics. So
nice.
I'm just can't wait to get my hands on it. So that's more Turbo Kid content. And this game is supposed to be the bridge between, because it was announced that there's going to be a sequel. There's going to be a Turbo Kid 2.
Yeah,
And this game is supposed to work as the bridge between, more or
the
less
first. Yeah,
loosely, the first to the sequel, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
how how much is that comic going to contribute to tying the two stories together?
Um, well, I don't want to say too much,
Too much, yeah, because it, yeah.
but that's something that we always had in mind, like while doing the comics. Like in the next issues that are coming out of Turbo Kid, in the Skeletron story, there's
Yeah.
references to things that hasn't happened yet. That's gonna
Hmm.
happen in the second movie. So we always wanted like when the second film is going to be out, like if you check back the comics, you'll be like, oh shit, that was about this, or
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
but what's amazing is I know Giz from Outer Minds, the prisoner there. He's
Hmm.
a friend of mine, but I had no link with the video game, like absolutely not. Like let's not forget, Turbo Kid isn't my creation. Like
No, no, that's it. Yeah.
I, I'm just a dude that did the storyboards and the comics, but it's not my IP.
Hmm.
So when they called up and they said like, "Yeah, we'd love to make a comic about the game," I was like, "Really?" I felt so. I thought it was so cool of him. Like they really want to like tie everything together. So we're doing that now. We just finished writing it, and what can I say? I don't want to say too much because
No.
even though like I read the script for the second film, I think it's gonna be way more fun if people just guess what's gonna be in there,
Yeah.
and yeah. So
And I know Kevin announced that, like you said, the Skeletron will be released.
it's later
I don't
this
remember,
year because of
later
the
this year.
paper shortage. It was supposed to
Yeah.
be in the next months, but it's gonna be almost
Mhm.
at the end of the year.
So like you said, because it was a double issue, they're separating it into 2 issues again.
Hmm.
And obviously, it's gonna be the same idea as the other ones. You probably have like maybe a 4 pages extra added story
Yep.
to each one.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
And
that.
the plan is to make a big trade.
Put it nice.
I know that because that's the thing that is so complicated with that book. It doesn't belong to me. I don't own
Yeah,
it. So there's a lot of people involved.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I know that Lunac wants to make a trade with the comic book of the video game. So you'll have like
Okay.
the first 2 double-sized
Mm.
issues, the Apple story, Skeletron story, and the video game story, like all in one big trade. And right now we're just like having our fingers crossed so that the payments would do the same thing.
Will it be
Nice.
offered in the comic that you're doing for the Kickstarter for the game, the new comic? Is that going to be offered in French eventually? Is it going to be translated into French, or is it just English, or
That
what's?
well, the comic will be available in the game
Yeah,
and will be
yeah,
available for the people that backed the Kickstarter.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't know if you're gonna be able to buy it like in stores. That's why they want to make a trade
Yeah, yeah,
paperback of
yeah.
the whole shebang.
But I'm assuming Lunac,
Yep.
right? When they release the trade, are they going to just do English, or are they plan on doing it in French?
I have no idea. That's not.
Yeah,
That's where
yeah.
I.
You have no idea
Yeah.
because originally the original Turbo Kid was released both in English and in French.
Yeah.
I think it had a short print run in both languages because one of our co-hosts, Matt, the guy who introduced me to the Turbo Kid comic, he has the English one,
Right. Right.
and yeah, and he's the one who tracked down the comic for me to find it, but it was
Right.
French. So I got the
Cool.
French version, which
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, fine by me. Like I have no problem reading French, right? So I was like,
Yeah. And Joe, I think
giddy up.
like you have every version possible of those comics.
Yeah,
You have
now
like
because I
the
bought,
French and the
I
English.
yeah, yeah, and I bought the one you had there,
Right.
the exclusive. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, the super rare cover, which is this one.
yeah, yeah, and I know. Oh, Kevin, Kevin was getting. Oh, he was getting it from all sides because I think you could order a copy signed by everyone.
Right.
RKSS, I think it was supposed to be signed by you,
Yeah.
like it was supposed to be signed by everyone, and everyone's like, when are we getting our books? When, because he has a
Right.
Discord and I'm on the Discord, right? And
Right.
he's like, I don't know, and everyone's like, you know how people get, right? Collectors and stuff. They,
Oh yeah.
and he was, I was just feeling bad for him because every day someone's like, you got any news? What's going on? Like I ordered this like 6 months ago, I still don't have it, and then I
Yeah.
kind of went on. I was like, well, I know the guys from RKSS are at a festival, so maybe trying to get them to sign it, and then because not I was trying to like weather the storm a little bit for him by so I was like the
Now that
people
was
who
tough. There was a lot of things going on at the same time that just made it like impossible for us to sign the books. And I
yeah,
don't know if you guys can picture this, but like try to picture 500 comics. Like how do you like you can't bring that on the bus. You can't
yeah,
like just so
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's 4 like super heavy boxes and we all live in different cities.
yeah.
So
And like I was saying, like they're not comic writers. Like they don't work in an office
no,
all day. Like
no,
they
that's
make
right.
movies. They're going to festivals. They're traveling. They're
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
and like you said, you don't live in the same cities. I mean, it's a like you said, it's a logistical nightmare to try to, and especially
Right.
that's a lot of signatures because they're the directors. They're a group of 3.
Yep.
There was you.
Yep.
Was there anyone else to sign it aside? So
No,
that's four.
it was
That's four.
them 3 and me.
That's 4 signatures, right?
Yeah.
So you should have almost done an oversized comic so it'd be easier to fit all the signatures on the cover. Yeah. I got the one signature, so that's fine. I got the best
Nice,
signatures, so
nice, and yeah,
yeah.
and you got a drawing with it. So
hmm I got a remark, which man, I gotta say, man, you blasted through 4 remarks in like less than 20 minutes. That
yeah,
was insane. Like I think it took you 15 minutes to do like all 4 books, which was just and they're really
yeah.
awesome, really nice stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Well, thanks,
yeah.
man.
That
I
was my
love doing
first.
that. That's the thing I missed the most during the pandemic is just like signing books for people and just getting to meet like awesome people like you and just like talking comics and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. That was really fun. In that Comic Con of when was it? Was it in December?
Yeah, December
Right.
3rd, I think it was. Yeah, if
It's
I'm
not
not
that long
mistaken.
ago, and it seems like a
Yeah,
year ago or
well,
something.
we're going on. I think 3 months now. It was three
Yeah,
months
yeah,
ago. Which yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But that was my first con that I've been to since I was the age of 13. Yeah, so
Wow.
that's the first time I went.
Really?
Yeah, I saw you were there, and I had like the Turbo Kid stuff, and I love the Turbo Kid stuff. So I was like, oh man. And it was like kind of a last minute thing. My wife hadn't, she hadn't bought me a birthday present. My birthday was in June. I was like, I don't need anything, whatever. And I was like, oh, you want to do something for my birthday 6 months later? We'll go to the Comic Con and we'll meet Jake and
But
the
that
other
was
people.
your first Comic Con ever?
No, since the age of 13 was the last time I went.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
my first one
since the
since
age
the
of
age of
13, yeah. Well,
yeah, so that's like 30 years ago. Yeah.
yeah. And
So
so you're
yeah, it
not
was
a
awesome.
Comic Con guy. You're not like interested in that?
My wife always wants to go, but see, when I went when I was younger, Comic Cons were about comics. There was no
Yeah,
celebrities. There was no, and that's what was great about this one. It was kind of like a throwback to
right.
the old days. Like there was no celebrities, no actors, no. It was vendors, people selling comics, and people
Yeah.
making comics.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of cosplay and stuff like that. But I mean, that's what I love. And like it, I mean, it must have kind of sucked. Well, you sold out all your Alice books and stuff, so you seem to have a pretty
Yeah.
good weekend. But I mean, for you, maybe the artist, like Artist Alley, it's maybe less appealing when there's less
Yeah.
people like that because you don't get as much
Yeah,
traffic.
I'm
But
super lucky because I'm like the exception because I guess I don't know why. I don't know. But I remember like a couple years ago, an Artist Alley, they had Brian Azzarello. He was
yeah,
my neighbor, my
okay,
table neighbor, and right in front of us was Kevin Nolan.
okay,
And those two guys for me are legends. Like I respect them so much. And they spend the weekend alone at their table. So
really,
like yeah, and that was hard to see. That was like tough because that's when you realize like, oh, people that are at Comic Con aren't really interested in the creators. They're more
mm,
interested in the creations and the thing that generates from that. So like you see a lot of cosplayers, a lot of people with Deadpool pillows or whatever.
mm, yeah, yeah,
But Brian Azzarello's there alone all weekend. I didn't complain because I got to talk to him all weekend and it was awesome. But it's hard. Like I keep telling Cliff, which is one of the organizers of the Comic Con, I keep telling him like we should do a comic book Comic Con, like a comic
yes,
book convention, like really focused on the artists, like bring out like I don't know, like Mike Mignola or Frank Miller or like and make it just like super small but for
yeah,
comic book
yeah.
creators and that would be great.
Instead of having like Mark Hamill as the main attraction, have like you said, like a Frank Miller,
Yeah,
like a legend that
exactly.
made comics, not someone who like
and
made this.
and I would make it like and I don't mean sound snobbish or anything about because like I'm fortunate like every time I go to Comic-Con I'm super well treated. I'm treated like I'm a fucking royalty, like I get everything for free and
Yeah,
Cliff's one of my great friends and we have so much fun. I get to meet a lot of people, but there's this commercial side of it that for me is not like I wouldn't invite Frank Miller to that kind of thing, but like something maybe a little more classy, like in the theater or something, like with a Q
Mm.
and A with Miller and a couple of artists like signing comics or something like that. Like that would be great. That would be awesome. And I think that Montreal could host that, could have that kind of festival,
Well,
like a mini festival.
well, I know there's some festivals that where you can it's more expensive. I think it's a hundred and something dollars for a ticket, but you get a sit down meal and it's an event. I don't know if you've ever been to one of those. There's different events where they have like a whole meal. It's a more prestigious, like you said, fancy. There's less people and they do a meal and the tickets are a little more expensive, but I mean, those kind of events, it's like it's a night. Like you
Right.
go, you have a meal, you meet like these people, it's a smaller, more intimate atmosphere, so you get more out of it as, like, let's say a fan. Like that's why I loved it. I got to sit there and talk to you
Yeah.
like there wasn't like lineups where you feel pressure like, oh, I got to get through this fast to try to get to everyone, right? So it's much more rewarding for someone like me who's never met you and never got to speak to you. We actually got to spend like a good 5 minutes really talking quite a bit, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like that's super fun for fans. But like, but
And
then
it's
you
fun
have,
for me too, because like just signing and like I want to
yeah,
talk to people, and I
yeah,
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
like know, like I want to have a moment with everyone.
Hmm.
It's also a way to say thank you, but also to
Hmm.
sharing, like
Hmm.
all our time we spend it like alone behind the drawing table. So like getting
Yeah,
to a comic con and getting to meet people, it's just fucking great. It's
yeah.
so
Straight
fun.
up. Yeah.
Here, man,
The way
you're
Comic
yeah.
Cons have become, I kind of refer to them more as a media con than actually
Yep,
being about comics. It's more about the movies and TV shows that don't even have anything to do with comics. Like,
that's
it's really
right.
neat that people like Supernatural, but like there are tie-in comics to Supernatural, but it's not a comic book property. So I don't understand
Right.
why it's at Comic Con, but it
And
was there every year. So
and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's great, but I think that just leaves the room open for a more creator owned event, you know?
something smaller, something more intimate with that's actually about comics, I would be all for that. That's
Mhm.
why I haven't really never really went to cons for a long time before the plague broke out, and now I actually really want to go to one. I'm pretty jealous of Joey because man, he came back just floored from the one where he met you at, because he met a
That's
lot of really
awesome.
cool people that are going to be
Yeah,
on the show in the near future too. Quite a few
yeah.
of them.
But
Marco,
I
met
keep
Marco. He was awesome. Met Belanger,
Andy,
Andy,
Andy.
yeah,
I met Andy.
Andy
He's
Belanger, yeah.
quite he's a character. He's
Oh yeah,
we'll have to get him on the show because I'm sure it'll
oh
be a
yeah,
pretty, yeah.
and
He's
do a
he's a
quite the
shoot
fucking
character.
interview
pro,
with him,
man.
man.
Yeah,
Crazy ass
He's an
wrestler.
uh,
animal, but he's a fucking pro, man. I mean,
yeah.
look at this guy's work is
Oh yeah.
tremendous. But I keep seeing that pulp poster behind you, Joe, and like, can you imagine like just an event like having Ed Brubaker recording like a podcast in a theater for like 2 hours, and people are there, and it's recorded live, and you could just like hear that discussion. Like I would go to something like that,
Yeah,
like him talking about, and Brubaker, like he can talk like 3 hours uninterrupted, like
yeah.
just
And then you could even have like a question period where people attending can come up
yeah,
to the mic and ask questions and make it like interactive with the fans. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
That would be
uh,
awesome.
yeah. Manu here put a post. He wanted to know if you were planning on attending the FBDM.
Of
Uh,
course.
yeah. Oh, okay. There you
Oh
go.
yeah, FBDM. I've been there since the first edition, the first year. I love those guys. I love going there. It's one of my favorites. It's outside. It's uh, it's beautiful. It's during the summer, and I'll probably be there with my new book that's coming out.
What you
So,
working on?
well, right now I'm working on a couple of things, but I've been working on Chanson Noire, and actually, I think, can I show this? I might have it in my hands right now.
Oh,
My new book. I might. I'm
oh, so
not
you already have
sure.
comp. It's finished, and you have comps.
Yeah. Well, I got how did you say that? An exemplar.
Yeah, a comp. Yeah,
A comp.
A
Okay,
proof of
yeah,
concept.
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah. So here you go. So it's called Chanson Noire. Wait, the light's so fucked up. And we don't know yet when it's gonna come out because we're trying to be we're trying to strategize the best timing for it, but I know that the FBDM is in the April, so
That's
it would be
too short, or
logical
yeah.
to have it there. So
Then, so that's coming up in April.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
the
am I like talking too much? Just
no, no, man. This is
No.
awesome.
I'm not
April.
good with
So
that.
that's coming up soon. That's coming up
Yeah, that's only
soon.
about a little over a month away, so that's not
Yeah.
bad at all of a wait.
Mm.
Any chance of it coming out in English anytime soon?
Chanson Noire? No, I don't think so. Uh, right now, my dream would be to get these books translated. Like Alice and Chanson Noire and a couple of others I did before that. I talked to Kevin about Alice. He was like, "There's no way we can put that out in English in the States." Alice is and
It'll get chastised, man. People will be like,
yeah, that's like
the
for two
South in the
reasons.
South, the churches will be burning them, and
I would love that, man.
it
I
would
would
be it
love
would be
that so
pretty
much.
cool.
Like a bunch of school teachers burning my books, I would be so honored, man. That would be like my black metal wet dream coming true. But yeah, there's two problems with my books. First of all, is the format. Like they're not standard comic book sized.
Mhm.
Like if you can just see, I know this
Yeah,
also audio podcast, but like
yeah,
this is a comic book, and
yeah.
you can see like it's not, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's that, and also like the sex and everything. But at the same time, I have a question for you guys. Like, do you
Yeah.
think there's a American publisher that could put this out? Because I've been reading
Fantagraphics.
Fateless.
Yeah,
Oh,
Fantagraphics, they
Faithless. That's
love
on
Europe.
Boom.
That's on
Yeah.
Boom.
Fateless, the Azarello thing, like I saw a
Boom.
lot of similarities with Alice. Like there's a lot of like sex, magic, dark shit going on in that book, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of like graphic sex. And
Yep.
I was like, ah,
Yeah.
okay, they're going there, and it's an American publisher like Boom Studios, so maybe they could be interested. But what
The
I
artist
would,
for Faithless, Maria Lovett, she also puts out a lot of books through Black Mask, which is a
yeah,
smaller
Ablaze.
publisher that
Ablaze is Maria Levis publishes a lot of stuff through Ablaze. That's another
okay,
one. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and she's really pretty unforgiving and she doesn't care, you know what I mean? She's got really kind of graphic violence and really sexual themes in all of her books, and she seems to skate by. I mean, she's actually kind of a revolutionary right now in the comic book scene down here. So, I think that yeah, more stuff like that would be welcome, and like I think that those would be the type of labels to look at is maybe a
right.
Blaze and Black Mask particularly.
Yeah, because the other thing is like I'm not just looking for like a publisher. I'm looking like kind of for a partner, like someone
Yeah.
that gets it. You know, I don't want to like I want to promote the book with the publisher. You know, I don't want
Hmm.
to just like put it in his hands and like sell this for me. Like I want to, like I want to be part of the team. So
Yeah. Part of the process. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I would love to have that translated in English. Alice and the Chanson Noire. Uh, it's a That's the weird thing is like for and I've always been like you guys. I don't remember which one of you said Fantagraphics. Like I've always been stuck between both worlds. Like for the indie scene, I'm considered mainstream, but for the mainstream scene, I'm considered like super indie.
Hmm.
And like I look at Fantagraphics and I'm like, I don't think they would publish Alice. It's
I don't
maybe
know,
I don't know.
because
I don't know.
Piscor is putting out the Red Room, and
Yeah, and they
that's
got
Right.
custom,
variant covers and
you
all
know,
kinds of that silly
and
popular
and
crap
it
that
is selling like gangbusters. So they're
Yep.
probably like,
That's
man,
right.
there's a market for this, you know. So maybe Ed with Red Room is opening that door
That's right.
for other publishers to be like, man, there's a market for this. We don't have to play it safe all the time and worry. Like we can put out some serious, mature, like with
Yeah.
a capital M books. You know,
Right.
like there's a market for it, and I think since the pandemic with Kickstarters and everything, I think it's opened the door a little more for people to go because the comic industry got shut down. So
Right.
people were just looking for stuff to buy, right? Because there was no more Batman and shit coming out for 2 months. So people were like, okay, so maybe they went and picked up some of these books they've heard about and started
Right.
broadening their their palette a little bit. And you know, I mean, the pandemic sucked, but I think some good stuff came out of it for the comic industry, especially for the indie comic scene. Mm.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So anyway, for your listeners or you guys, hook me up if you can, if you know people, I would super appreciate that. But yeah, Ed Pisker, man, that guy, that guy just like he's doing his own thing. He's forging his own path, and like Fantagraphics is just like following that guy. It's incredible the work he did and the path
Uh,
he made for himself.
Yeah, and Fantagraphics just re-released, reprinted the what is it, the Bear Brothers or what is it, the Freak
the
Brothers? Anyway, it's like some old indie, like from the 70s, 60s, 70s, right?
Huh.
And it's got some crazy, and they've just put the hardcovers out solicits like a few months back. So I mean, they're they're really going
they
into
do a
this
lot of
like
they
obscure indie stuff, man. They're putting some. So
That's
I don't
awesome.
know. Yeah.
well, they do a lot of translations. I mean, of course, a lot of it's European, but I'm starting to think of you French Canadians as pretty much being on the same level as like the French graphic novelists themselves. I mean, you guys might have a little more uh, Western flair to you, but not
Yeah,
that much.
we're not
I
as
would.
refined. We're not as classy.
You guys got the art style down though, man, and you guys got that killer oversized format and stuff. Like I like a what is it, the A3 size comics? That they're fine and everything, but man, give me bigger panels. Give me
Yeah.
balloons that I can read actually, because I'm getting old, damn it. And
Yeah.
and like my buddy, he talked me and Joe into getting us this book called Puma Blues, which is it's
Yep.
fabulous. And but the reprint that we have, man, the balloons are so small, man. You got to hold the book right up to your face to be able to read the damn thing with the
The Michael
reprint that we have
Zulli
of it.
thing, right?
Yeah, Michael Zulli and
Yeah.
I forget the writer's name, but yeah, it's a beautiful book, but it's
Uh,
hard
This
as hell to
year,
read.
I've been on a road trip all across Canada this year. I've been all the way through Vancouver Island and back. And every time we were like stopping in a big town, I was telling my girlfriend like I need to go to a comic book shop. Like
yeah.
let's find one. And in Victoria, I found the most amazing store. It was I don't remember the name. I'm sorry, but it was amazing because like you had like a comic book shop, like super mainstream superhero stuff, like with all the single issues and all the variant covers. And next door, it wasn't the same store, but you had another one, and it was like really like true cartoonist comics, you know. And I found the only issue missing of the Michael Zulli Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know, he
Ooh,
did 3 issues of that,
yeah.
and I was only missing 1, and I found it there, and I was so fucking happy. And it also had like a lot of like super rare Barry Windsor Smith stuff, and like I just like I had to stop myself because I was gonna spend all my money there, and
No money to get back home for the paper gas.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, my wife and I went to Niagara Falls this because we're supposed to go out west, fly to a friend's place, but because of the fires, I think the flights
Yeah,
got canceled because there was too much smoke. So we're like,
yeah,
oh, what do you want to do? I was like, we either do. I said, listen, I'm going to work. She was starting on vacation. I'm like, I'm going to go to work. I'll give you two options. Gaspésie, we'll do the whole
yeah,
peninsula and come around. I said, it's beautiful. Come back up around New
yeah.
Brunswick and all that. Said, we'll do that, or we'll go to Niagara Falls. So I came back and she's like, Niagara Falls. And I did the same thing. I went on Twitter. I'm like, all right, I'm going to Niagara Falls. Anyone who has comic shops along the 401, send me your comic shops. And then we stopped at, I think, 4 or 5 different comic shops on the way there and a couple on the way back. And I found this little shop too, like, and it had all kinds of indie stuff. And
Yeah.
uh, like we spent, I think I blew like $300 in that shop,
Yeah,
just that
yeah,
one stop. I was
that's
like, but it was a great little shop, and the owner was super cool, and it almost looked like a cross between a used bookstore and a cigar lounge.
right, right,
It had
exactly.
that
Those are the
vibe,
best places, man.
yeah, it just had that awesome vibe to it. Like, I could have just hung out there all day and just shooting the shit with the owner, and the employee there was super cool too, and super nice fellow, and yeah, it was just a
That's
great
where we
time.
gotta invite Frank Miller.
Yeah.
That particular store, that
Yeah.
one. That's where we host the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a parking lot right beside it, so you could fence it
That's
off and
the
put tables and yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was yeah, it's just fun doing stuff like that, going on road trips and no real plan, and just be like, all right, let's just have a vague itinerary that we just follow roughly, and then
yeah.
yeah, just
I'm
stop.
just lucky because my girlfriend like finally accepts that wherever we go, we have to stop by a comic book shop. So like her mind is up to it, like is up for it. So she's not like, oh really? She's just like, of course,
Yeah,
you need your moment.
yeah.
But
See,
yeah,
I
What's your
got I
favorite
got
Frank
my,
Miller book, by the way, Jake? Just wondering, as a fan of Lanky Frank myself, what's...
I was gonna joke and say Holy Terror. That's his
Oh
best
man.
one. No, no, no. What's my favorite Frank Miller book? Huh. Well, of course, like Dark Knight Returns, Sin City, all that. But recently, I've just rediscovered because I had this book when it came out. Well, maybe not when it came out because I was too young, but when I was aware of it, I bought it, and it's his Electro Lives Again, which he
Oh
did with
yeah.
Lynn Varley, and it's all like like super simple outline drawings, but with the heavy painting of Lynn Varley's colors and everything. And it's so
Surreal.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, it's super operatic, but at the same time super badass. It's about like basically Daredevil fighting ninjas in his nightmares, and it's pre Sin City, so you can see like there Matt Murdock never wears a costume in that comic. He looks like Dwight in Sin
Yeah,
City.
he's
He
got
just has
the Converse on and everything, yeah.
yeah, with the trench coat, and at the end he has like all the band-aids on his face and everything.
scars
uh
and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and I love that comic. Like, it inspires me so much, and he's doing so much with the form and the like. He'll do I always forget how that's called, but when you have the same character in the same, you have multiple times the same character in the panel to like imply movement. Like
Yeah.
Daredevil always had that, and he does it in that comic with Matt Murdock, like going through his apartment, and it's just like insanely beautiful. And yeah, so right now that's my favorite one. I'm also doing like a kaiju podcast, so I've been revisiting kaiju comics, and I found I reread big guy and Rusty
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Him and Jeff Darrow.
Jeff Darrow, man.
yeah,
Jeff Darrow, man, that guy, and Hard Boiled.
Yeah.
So
yeah, yeah. Hard
uh,
boiled was that was. I remember because I come from a small town, so I didn't get exposed to many indie comics, and I think Hard Boiled. One of my friends, after a summer, I think he went to Montreal to visit family and stuff, and he came back from summer break with a copy of Hard Boiled. And I remember when he brought that into school, I just opened it up and looked at it, and like as a 12, 13 year old, my mind just it just
oh yeah,
blew up. My brain just exploded. I was like, what the fuck is
oh
this?
yeah, it's amazing.
Like you're so used to seeing DC and Marvel stuff, and then you get that and you're like,
Yeah,
what?
it's
Like
mind
it
blowing.
just yeah, it is. It's insane. The first time you experience that, you'll remember it for the rest of your life.
And it's so detailed, so rich that like I've had that book for like 20 years, and every time I flip through it, like I can see something new. Like it's insane. It's just insanity. But Johnny, what about you? Like, what's your favorite Frank Miller book?
I really like Dame to Kill For, but yeah, I'd have to go with Hard Boiled as my personal all-time favorite. Um, actually, I love all of his work very much. The only one I have a problem with, and it doesn't have to do with his art. Is actually probably has his best art in it, but his storytelling is weak in Ronin. I don't really care for Ronin
Hmm.
very much, but that's the only one that like I
I
kind
have
of.
to reread that. It's funny because when I first heard of what's the cartoon called, Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When I first heard about that, I was like, well, that's Ronin. And even like the villain has that same like headpiece pattern, like same thing. It's same concept, like old samurai fighting a demon, getting teleported with the demon in future times and everything. It's like, is this like, and I've researched it and I never really found an answer, but it's really like inspired by Ronin. It's like it's weird. There's no lawsuit or anything, but like it's a bit too close. Like in the concept, not of course, obviously not individuals. Doesn't look alike at all. But there's some heavy like things that are like exactly the same. I was always curious about that.
Okay. I never really watched that cartoon, so I didn't know that there were similarities, but that's very interesting.
Yep. What about you, Joe? Do you have a Frank Miller favorite Frank Miller comic?
well, the first two I was ever exposed to was the Hard Boiled, and then the Dark Knight. Right, like another friend of mine came in with the oversized hardcover, and he let me borrow it. Well,
Right.
he he watched over me during recess while I flipped through the pages. Like he wouldn't actually let me take the book and leave or anything. But
Right.
so those were the first two that I got exposed to his work, and then later on I read like Sin City, which I really loved. I thought, no, that's like I wasn't collecting comics as much back then, but I actually would go to the comic shops and pick up Sin City and
Have you guys
so
read his RoboCop comics?
Yeah, the one Avatar reproduced, the
Yeah,
basically what was RoboCop 2, the original version of it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty brutal.
yeah, man. And they got this. I know it kind of sucks for Jeff Darrow, but they got this Jeff Darrow copycat to illustrate it, and I thought it was great, man. It's funny how RoboCop was influenced by Dark Knight Returns, and like it kind of cycles back. Now Frank Miller is doing like the whole TV spots and like the whole commercials satire,
Yep.
satire. Yeah.
and that's a big part of it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I actually have some of the variant covers, the foil variant covers from Avatar for that. I wonder if they're actually finally worth something now that Avatar's out of business. Be
Hmm.
surprised, but
Oh, I didn't know the company's dead. They're
uh,
out of
last
business.
I saw, they put out omnibus for the Alan Moore book Providence, and they haven't done anything since, and no word on anything coming out after that. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
Alan Moore is
that's a shame.
independently releasing copies of the Cinema Purgatorio that he was doing
Yeah.
there. I think he's putting out the trades himself for that. So
Huh.
I
That's
think
one
his
guy I would
retiring
like
just
to.
really took the wind out of their sails because he was like the last big name they had working there.
Yeah, yeah, of course. That's one guy I would like to see on the cartoonist kayfabe. Alan Moore. I
Yeah,
doubt
he
it'll
is.
ever happen, but it would be great, man. It would be fucking great.
He's he's a character, man. I'll tell you that. He loves his stories, man. He is long-winded, so yeah, he would probably keep Ed Piskor busy. Those two trying to talk with each other, man. We're talking about like a 4-hour episode with those two if they get
Oh
really
yeah, oh
talking to
yeah,
each other.
oh yeah, of course. But we're so lucky to just have Rob Liefeld talk about Alan Moore for like 2 hours on his podcast. That was amazing too. Like, and I don't know, I like the Liefeld theory is that it's all a front. He's not like he's a character. He plays a character. I don't know.
I
Who
can see
knows?
that. I've always thought the same thing about Grant Morrison too. I mean, I love both those
Right.
guys, but like they're just so cartoonish in their presentation of themselves that you can't help but think that like there's no way this is really you, dog. Like you got to be putting a little bit of this on, at least a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Maybe.
So
Who
black
knows?
magic and all the all the weird I seen aliens once and all the weird shit they come up with, those two in particular, yeah, they're
Mm,
Yeah,
but I
I just checked the previews, and Avatar. They have 5 pages worth of solicits. So I
okay.
mean, they're still putting out books.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, good for them.
yeah,
I guess they just took it slow there for a while. Must have been the pandemic. I don't know.
Yeah.
It happened
yeah.
before
It's
the pandemic.
possible. Yeah,
Because I used to talk about their in my older videos. I used to talk about their books all the time. So people were really blowing me up, asking me like, "Yo, dog, what's happening with Avatar?" And I'm like, I don't know. And I tried to tweet Mike Wolfer and stuff to see what's going on, and like I never got any responses. So,
One guy that I'd like to hear talk about this is the artist of Providence, Jason Burrows.
oh yeah, I
Like,
love that guy's
dude,
work.
that guy, like, and I mean, I like his art, but I have so much like compassion for that guy. Like, he came out of nowhere. He's not the greatest artist. He's not the like he doesn't seem to have like a super ego or anything, but he's worked with like the biggest like
Oh
writers
wow.
of the industry, like Garth Ennis, Alan Moore, like legends, and he just like keeps doing his stuff, and it's amazing.
Well, the
So
neat thing is he's kind of helped them do some of their best books in years, in my opinion,
yeah,
too. I mean, I would say that stuff like Chronicles of Wormwood and some 303 and some of that stuff that he did with Ennis was some of his best work until he got probably back into this year.
right,
And Alan Moore, yeah, his Lovecraft stuff, starting with the Courtyard and then with
right,
Neonomicon and then Providence, just so good. It's not even just some of Alan Moore's best stuff; it's some of the best H.P. Lovecraft inspired comics you could probably check out. And we are joined by another superstar. We have Mr. Salgood Sam in the house.
oh
Salgood Sam,
yeah, man.
yeah, he did the really amazing, therefore Repent, which is an all-time favorite of mine, as well as some really good indie stuff like his solo book? I have it right here.
Yeah, hi Sam. I think Sam's work is amazing. I've bought like Therefore Repent when it came out, and I was just blown away. It really changed my vision of how you can do layouts, how you can make layouts on a page, and it just like it blew my mind at the time.
Yeah,
Tremendous.
yeah, he's incredible. But yeah, it's really cool to have him here. Thank you for dropping by.
So
So
Jake, I made a little joke in preparing for the show there when I referred to the joy of DP there,
There you
which
go. There
is
you go. It's hard to avoid it.
yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's you do basically a live stream where you pick a theme and then you draw something on Twitch
Yeah.
live. So if anyone's interested to go check you out, you usually do that on Tuesday nights, right at 9 o'clock.
Exactly. Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. Last year, well, I started in 2021, and at first I was doing it alone, and then I started inviting cartoonists to draw with me
Hmm.
because DP is really hard to do alone.
Yep.
And
Generally, yeah.
you can still do it. You can still do it, but it's there's something missing. And so I started inviting cartoonists, especially like we all know each other. So all my friends, Axel Lenoir,
Yeah.
Vian, Alex A, and it was great. And then I did that road trip last summer, so I took a little break and started back in January, last January. And I'm gonna have like guests again. My next guest is probably gonna be Marco Rudy.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, we have
yeah,
him on next week. He's coming on the show next week.
that's gonna be a great week for him because
Yeah.
he's all over the place. But yeah,
Yeah.
we actually met at that same Comic Con,
Yeah.
Joe.
Not super nice
So
guy.
oh yeah, and his comic is tremendous.
Hmm.
It's amazing.
beautiful. Yeah, it's
So really excited to have him in. So I'm live streaming on Twitch, but all the episodes are uploaded later on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. Mm.
what's the name of
Just
your
Jeik
channels?
Dion on
Oh,
YouTube. That's Jeik.
Yeah. Yeah.
very
And
cool.
you also have your Patreon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the big thing that I'm trying to push this
Push.
year. And
Well, how long have you had your Patreon for?
I've had it for quite a while, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Okay.
Uh, and it's always evolving. Like right now, I'm putting all my self-published comics in digital format. They're all there. So like if you subscribe, you get access to all of that. And I'm trying new stuff. Like I'm trying to. Recently, I found out all old sketchbooks that I did when I was a kid. So I'm uploading like pictures of that, but trying to redo the illustrations. Like I'm trying different things, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's the big thing I want to push because what my goal is with the Patreon is I'd like to do more independent comics,
Mhm.
and I'd like to like find a way to publish them and to yeah, give access to them on the Patreon
Well,
platform.
you already are starting to do that because I think the short stories you added, the pages you added into the Turbo Kid,
Yeah,
they're available on your Patreon
exactly. Yeah,
for the 2 issues. That was there. Your books also in PDF form.
yeah,
Uh, the majority of your books you can download if you because you have 2 tiers or 3 tiers, and I think
just two.
if you do the higher tier, you get all your books. You
Yeah.
can download them in PDF form. What else did I see on there when I was going on?
Well, there's also
You have a giveaway at the end of each month.
exactly
You do the
on the
giveaway.
Jake store, which is my
Mhm.
Etsy store, which has like original art for Alice, but it also has like
Mhm.
all my prints, T-shirt designs like I'm wearing right now.
Mhm.
I'm a I'm a walking commercial. So you have that there, and yeah, I'm always trying new stuff. So like, if you have ideas or you want to see something specific, just write on Patreon. Write to me on Patreon, and I'll be happy to respond and to
Mhm.
offer something new.
Kevin Henry asks a question straight from Goose. Uh,
Yeah.
he wants to know. if you were being attacked by 100 kids, how would you fend them off?
So that's a reference to that guy. I don't know where he lives, but he's probably from Quebec. Because with
Mm-mm.
the podcast, no, he's not.
No, no,
Uh,
he's not.
okay, so I think that's a reference to a show we did with Les Mystérieux Étonnants in Quebec, where that was the theme of the show. If we were attacked by kids, how would we
Oh,
survive?
so maybe
And
it isn't Goose. Maybe it is
No,
another
no,
fan.
I'm pretty sure this isn't Goose. It's just a question that's very similar to what he
Oh,
always talks about,
okay.
beating up
So
kids. So
it probably is a reference to Lee Star because we have a friend. Well, we a co-host that comes on, and he was talking about how he'd. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
it's the Quebec Goose.
yeah,
It's
yes,
because
the
we
because
did
they
a
Quebec
live
version
lost.
show
of
in
Goose.
Quebec, and that was the
Because
main topic. Like, how would we defend ourselves?
uh, because we
And
did.
we basically like described killing children for like 20 minutes. Like, oh, I would
Okay.
try to rip their limbs off and do like some kind of nunchucks with their arms. And Yoan
Good.
from
Uh,
RKSS was like, you have to show the example. You have to like pick one and show them that you're not afraid. And
yeah.
was just wrong and crazy.
Okay.
But
I
yeah,
thought it was.
that's
I thought
from
it was
Les Mystérieux Étonnants.
okay. Because I thought it was one of our co-hosts, Goose. He comes on every once in a while, and he was talking about how he would his strategy for beating up 40 little kids attacking him at the same time. So I thought because he has I think 3 or 4 different accounts with different names. So I thought this was one of his like burner accounts, and he was coming on and asking questions.
'Cause, yeah,
But the
he's
question
convinced he
Uh,
is,
can beat
how
up
would you defend yourselves? Hmm.
what is it, 37-year-olds? He thinks that he could take on by himself.
I don't
This
know.
is
We did an episode, and he went off on this for like over a half hour. How he would beat
That's
up a
funny.
bunch of little kids attacking him. Yeah, so it was just funny someone asked that question.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What else was there?
That would be an
So
awesome comic. Like, actually, there's a writer that pitched that to me once, and I couldn't do it at the time, and I really regret it. But it was basically like a kindergarten cop, but in the
mhm.
zombie apocalypse. So, like the
Okay.
first hours of the zombie apocalypse. So you just like think about like a super cop that's undercover in a kindergarten, but all the kids become zombies. So
There's a book that sounds kind of like that came out recently. I
the
can't remember
damn
the name
cursed
of it.
kids,
Yes,
the
yes, that's
from
it.
Source Point
Yeah,
book. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
which one?
There's uh, Damn
Damn
Cursed
cursed
Kids.
children.
I haven't read it, but it's kind of like all these kids go rabid or something like that and start killing everyone. And yeah, so
Well,
I haven't read it, so I don't know exactly what the
It's
story is, but
it's a great idea. Somebody was going to get to it, man. I
exactly.
yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of wish that they did the kindergarten cop thing with it, though. That sounds a little more interesting, having like one centralized Arnold Schwarzenegger esque hero.
Yeah.
It's not a tumor.
Yeah.
No,
Exactly.
it's a zombie
Exactly.
plague. It's a
Yeah.
zombie infection.
But yeah,
It could
there's
start like that.
stories like that. There's concepts like that like it's bound to happen. I did a pitch for Kevin Eastman a couple years ago,
Mhm.
and I've been like thinking about the story for forever. And basically, like it was a Ninja Turtles pitch, and the concept was Michelangelo is dead. He's been dead since like 15 years ago, and like I'm someone that lived like I lost two of my best friends. So it was more about like grief and how'd you deal with
Mhm.
like losing your best friend or a brother or whatever. And I thought it was so effective because the turtles are uh, we we do the link with our childhoods, so we kind of grew up with them, so it
Yeah.
kind of like fits the theme perfectly, like
Mhm.
the adulthood of or the adult team of like losing like a childhood friend, or
Yeah. Yeah.
and I got to meet him at Comic Con, and I did my sample pages, my little pitch, and everything, and I presented it to him, and he was like, "Oh, man, this looks great. I'll read it, and if I like it, I'll get back to you." And I was like, "Wow, this actually happened. It's gonna happen. It's amazing." And never heard back from him. He's a busy guy, so I kind of figured like, well, too bad. And at that time, I was starting at this, so like I wasn't waiting for a job or
Yeah.
waiting for it.
Yeah.
But
And
a year later, like
Last
I
Ronin
heard
comes out.
Last Ronin comes out, and
Yeah.
it's the reverse. It's not Michelangelo's that is dead; it's everyone else. And at first, like my friends were like, "Do you think he stole your idea? Like, do you think like that?" I was like, "Dude, it wasn't
Yeah.
that unique of an idea. It was basically like Dark Knight Returns. Like, it's like take this childhood thing and just make it for grown-ups." And
Mhm.
I know that the Turtle comics weren't childhood, like weren't kids comics. I know that, but still, like the basic concept of like project this idea in the future where it's more grim and dark and you deal with
Mhm.
like adult teams, like I didn't invent that.
No.
So but I still like to think that my idea gave him the idea to
Inspired him. Yeah.
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 exactly, yeah.
You planted that seed. He
It was
probably
so
didn't
cool, man.
remember.
I had
He
so many
probably
good ideas.
he probably didn't remember where it came from, right? But
Yeah,
it was you. You're the one who planted that seed in
yeah.
him.
I like
Yeah.
to believe that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I choose to believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, so your Patreon, we touched on that. We touched on your
Yeah.
the joy of digital painting.
Yep.
What else do you have going on that you would like to plug?
Well, right now there's a lot of things. Not a lot I can talk about, but
No.
well, the two big books I'd like to promote are Alice, of course,
Yep. You
and
could
all
get that
bookstores.
at any bookstore.
Yep,
Actually, you didn't have any left when I was at the con.
that's
So
right.
on the
That's
way
right.
home, on the way home,
There's
my wife and I stopped at Indigo on the way home from the con in Brassard at the 10:30, and we stopped off at the Indigo and we bought one on the way home.
That's amazing, man. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah.
And the version you're holding in your hands is rare because once this is sold out, there's going to be a reprint, but soft cover.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like for all the
Nice.
people that want a hardcover, run and get it right while it's still available. And the other thing is the Turbo Kid comics. They're in your comic book shops. Just ask your retailer, like ask your comic book shop to have them. There's 2 issues out. I know it's going to be a while for the issue 3 and 4 to get out, but they'll happen this year, hopefully. And so that's about it.
Mm.
And well, there's another book coming out from me, but I don't know when exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
soon,
Possibly April for the
possibly.
for
I
that.
hope. I hope.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Matt from the N Pod. It's another podcast I sometimes go on as a guest.
What's
So
up, Spanky?
he's actually in England. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
probably like 4 in the morning for him, something like that, 5 in the morning. So yeah, he's probably
Tired.
probably coming back from a night out or something. Yeah, Mr. Spanky himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
But all right, we talked to Jake for about an hour and a half. I think this is a
Oh,
good place to kind of go ahead.
I have one last little question. Are you going
Yep.
to be working on the storyboards for the Turbo Kid sequel, or you don't have time for
Um,
that?
we haven't talked about it yet because they, but probably yes.
Yeah.
That's all
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna say.
Cool. I just wanted to know if you're still going to be involved in the next movie because that's
Oh yeah, but
yeah,
we talk together all the time, so
yeah,
we're
yeah,
friends. So
yeah. All
yeah.
right, cool, man. That's cool. Cool. Yeah. Sorry, Johnny. Do
No,
your
it's
thing.
fine. Yeah, no, I was gonna just lead us out. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and button this sucker up. This was a really, really fun, really great episode. Learned a lot about Mr. Dion himself and more about the wonderful world of Quebec comics. I mean, I'm really falling in love with this whole scene. So it's totally epic. This is, of course, a new episode of Pink Buzz, finally back from a couple waylaid problems, but we are totally back and yeah, I want to throw you guys just a question. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the show. It really helps get people like Jake's name out there. Really helps other people find us, find him, find the books that we talk about. Because in my opinion, it's the important stuff. So please help the show out and help Jake out in any way you can. This, of course, is a product of graphic vandalism, and you know what that means. You know what that means. That means don't stop reading, never stop reading, don't stop watching awesome independent films, and don't stop supporting excellent music. Until next time, take it easy, y'all.
Yes.